Oh, Emma.
Please welcome back Emma Willmann.
Oh, Emma.
You're Emma. Oh, okay, Emma.
Here we go. Let's get crazy.
Oh, Emma.
Today's guest is comedian, podcaster, entrepreneur, and business woman, Ashley HESSELTINE. Did I say your last name right?
No, but it's fine.
Fuck! Why? I just watched the two things where they said your name. How do I say it?
Actually, that what you said was new. I usually don't get that. It's HESSELTINE.
Fuck.
I think what you said is better than HESSELTINE. That's what people usually say. I don't care.
Right. Damn. Well, I always had a hard time with Raina's first name for a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when I did open for you guys in LA, I pronounced her name wrong when I brought her up. Did you catch that?
Yeah, but I think you called her Rihanna, which is like an upgrade. So it's like
I don't think I did. That would be really nice of you guys if you put that as what maybe I did, but I think I said maybe I did. I remember just saying, as all of a sudden I just froze and was like, I'm about to say her fucking name wrong. And I tried to muffle it and I just prayed that she didn't catch it. And then the next show she was like, oh, my name's, and then I was like, I know it. I just.
You can call me Rihanna anytime you want.
Why is Emma calling Ashley Rihanna? Well, you know.
It's just, I don't know. I just don't care that much, but I always joke that like I run a show at the Stand, or I used to, when clubs were open, and they would just always say Ashley HESSELTINE, and I was like, whatever. And then it was like our fifth one, and I was like, hey guys, just because it's like my show, do you mind like just saying it right? and then the message didn't get translated to whoever announced it, and he pronounced it double wrong. He said Ashley HESSELTINE. Like, now we're just
we're really adding things. Are you Jewish?
No.
They were making you Jewish.
But everybody thinks I am, so I don't care about that either. If someone's like, oh, that's Ashley HESSELTINE, she's a Jew, I'd be like, that's fine. I'm not offended. I can't.
Ashley Hesselberg. You didn't, yeah.
Ashley Hesselsteinberg.
You're like, whatever. I don't care about that stuff either. I'm like, there's so many things to care about.
Yours, I get tripped up spelling yours because isn't it 2 L's and 2 N's?
You nailed it. Yep.
So it's like my instinct is to just do 1 N, I think.
Absolutely. Sometimes people will be like, is it 2 L's and 2 N's? I have to take too long to be like, yeah. Like it trips me up too. I'll be like, oh. When I was reading interviews with you, there was something really weird. There's 2 things I really, really relate to, but one of them was really made me go, what?
Oh, what?
One of them, this is not the weird one. Not weird, but just
a
little odd for, I also love drinking, first person with a fake ID.
Okay.
I was obsessed with the Princeton Review. I was obsessed with that book. That was my Bible too.
Yep.
I was obsessed with it. I had that big book. I used to ask people, I bet, quiz me on a school. Someone would say a school and I go,
oh my God. And I'd be like, I know their happiness rating or whatever. Like I was obsessed.
Yeah. Why is that?
I have no idea. It was just like this thing that like I was like, obsessed with what my idea of a college experience was. So I don't know. I just loved reading about like people in colleges. Like I don't think in high school, we went on like family vacations, but I wasn't like so well traveled, like I hadn't even been to the South, and then I chose to go there for school. Like I just was like obsessed with reading about all these colleges. I really don't know. I don't know why.
Clemson's a great school.
Yeah. It's great school. It was a weird fit.
I remember reading about Clemson, but I forgot about that until you said whatever I was reading it in, where you're like, yeah, that was like my Bible. I was like, me too.
Yeah.
I was obsessed with it.
Well, because I think it's also like, I was lucky enough that my parents were like, you can go where you want within reason.
Right.
So my parents weren't like, you can go to a $30,000 a year university by any stretch, unless you want to try to get more money. Like I kind of knew in what type of school, what type of state school vibe I was able to go to with their help.
Right.
And so I had kind of a like more world as my oyster. I can go anywhere I want for 4 years. I think that was part of the obsession. Because I am the first to say, like, I was lucky. I had that privilege. And I think a lot of kids are like, I got to go to the school in my state. And I kind of felt like I had the whole world to choose from. And I think that's probably why I was like, should I go to California? Or like, I was so set on going to University of Miami. And my dad, that was like Miami when like just everybody thought the football team was just going to like run a train on any white girl that showed up, you know? And my dad was like, you're not going there. And he's not even like racist. He was just like, he had this vision of like the football team as like, I don't know.
No one wants their daughter to get a train run on them, no matter how accepting of anything that they are.
And like my boyfriend was black at the time. I think my dad was like, we're not sending her down there. She's going to fuck the whole football team. And like, then I remember seeing Miami University, and I feel like you'll appreciate this since you understood the book. I saw Miami University, and I read everything. The students were super happy, beautiful campus. Everything was perfect. And I thought it was in Miami, Florida. And then it said Ohio. And I was like, God damn it.
I was just going to ask if it was in the Miami in Miami or the one in Ohio.
Yeah.
That would blow. Especially if you didn't go visit it.
Well, I didn't visit Clemson until orientation. So if I was like, I'm going to Miami, and then my parents drove me to Ohio for orientation.
Like,
also, I love Ohio, by the way. I'm a big
Ohio.
fan.
I agree. Ohio's it's very nice.
Yeah.
What were you like as a kid? Were you always like an entrepreneurial little kid?
I was just like a total cunt. I mean, I was like a straight A student. It was like my most important thing was like get good grades, and I was really smart. But I was just, I don't want to say bad. I wasn't like getting detention all the time, but just didn't like rules, was like always breaking the rules. I got like kicked out of this summer college program for drinking and partying. I got like fake ID, got in trouble for that, got in trouble for drinking, DUIs, the whole thing. So I always kind of was a rule breaker. I had these crazy parties in high school that like, I remember this one party, it was so epic. It was like straight out of Dazed and Confused. It was like, at our farm in the woods. It was nuts. People were doing keg stands in the woods. People are losing their virginity. They're getting high for the first time. It was the best night of my life. And I remember I was a junior and I walked in the Monday after my party. And I was like, I'm on top of the world.
Sure. Everyone's looking at you differently. Everyone's like, oh yeah.
And this teacher who was in charge of the National Honor Society, which they were picking people at that time, snatched me into her classroom at 8 a.m. and was like, you are applying for the National Honor Society right now. And we'd all have heard about this party you had. Who do you think you are? And I just was this like, I felt like I could get away with anything kind of kid.
And you were getting good grades and partying, so you were doing it. It's really if you're able to balance those two things, then it's really no one's business, except for I guess it is illegal to be having parties.
I know. And that was my parents' thing.
Where were your parents?
He's a good kid. Like they were just like, you know, they were those parents. And I like, Chris D'Elia talks about this too, how he never drank or smoked because his parents were like, you can do it if you want it. We're not going to forbid you. Right. So my parents were super easygoing, pretty chill about like drinking, even sex. So it didn't make me want to be bad.
Are you older than your brother? Are you the oldest child or the younger?
Yeah, I'm 4 years older.
Were they like that with him too?
He had no rules because he was like, he did good in school, but he was also like the football star. Like nobody held him down. And so they had more rules with me because I was the first one. But by the time he went through high school, none.
Didn't care. Did they, when you were in high school, is that when you developed your problem with authority?
Yeah. Cause I think you, if you're kind of interested, like you're kind of a smart kid, you start to realize that like some of that's bullshit, you know, like you got to follow the rules. Don't get me wrong. But like, I was always kind of like, oh, got to listen to your teachers, got to follow the rules in more elementary, middle school. And then I think I got to high school and I was just like a little sassier and I just like pushed back a little bit more. Like, I was like, why can't I leave for lunch? Why can't I drive my car to Wendy's? You know, like I just was like,
I left every lunch. I was always leaving for lunch because there are things that people don't really have a good reason to either. They're like, well, you can't. You're like, well, why?
Why?
You can't. But think how that must have been so fucking annoying I remember going into it was whoever watched, maybe in the cafeteria, someone watched lunch, but I remember going into some headmaster's office and kind of petitioning why I couldn't leave for lunch and like just making the case for it. What was I getting for lunch? Yeah, it was drive to, in my case, Subway, small town Subway is the only thing.
Yeah.
But the amount of effort into getting so I could go do that compared to just what's the problem with just sitting and in the cafeteria for lunch is
right.
It was a lot of. Did you ever cheat in school, or were you by the book?
No,
so didn't cheat. That's not good.
The thing about it is, like, I've been thinking about this. Whatever I was born with or was instilled with me. And it's not even my parents. Like, it's not like I have some strict, you got to get good grades parents. Like but
I always wonder about
like, I got to get good grades. I got to do my homework. There was no other option. And I think that when I didn't even realize maybe till even like college or after college that like, oh, you can like get B's and C's and still be okay in life. Like in my head, I was like, I don't get straight A's, I'm doing it wrong or something. And I would like see these kids not turn in their assignments and not do their homework and kind of just be like, whatever. And I was like, how do you live like that? I couldn't understand it.
Where do you think it comes from? Because I think about that a lot too, because I think about nature and nurture a lot, and kind of like what pushes someone to be one way and someone to be the other way, but that sometimes people will just have an internal drive. But it's interesting when you see it in kids and it's not, then their parents aren't back at home like whoosh.
Right. And I think, I am a perfectionist by nature, like really still to this day. And I think, maybe you realize your value is in a certain, like, I think when I was a kid, I was like, well, I'm smart. And like, then when I realized I was funny for the first time, cause I was like, I'm not pretty and I'm not going to, I want to be popular.
What made you think that you weren't pretty?
You just know. Like,
damn, it is rough out there.
Like, I'm sorry. Yeah. I feel like I knew in first grade, I was like, I don't look like Whitney Willis or whatever her name.
Oh, pretty was Whitney Willis. I do relate. I do know. I remember there was a girl named Sarah fucking Grace, but I wasn't necessarily compete. Some part of me was like, not like, oh, I have to be the prettiest. I do remember not ever really feeling like I was in that competition that I think sometimes with straight women I don't have, or with women I don't.
Oh, right.
I'm out of that, but I do remember.
I knew I wasn't in it. I was like, I'm not pretty, but I want to be popular. So I got to be the funny girl.
Those kids must have been like, you must have been a pretty cute little kid.
Emma, no.
Really? But I mean, it's not, I'm just thinking about the kids that were not like a cute, and I almost said attractive, which, whoa, would have edited that out. Thinking about the kids that are not kids attractive.
Were you a hot kid?
I actually was a really cute kid, but then I became chubby. I was chubby kid. But I was still like cute, but I do remember there are some kids that like seem like they're really like have it together and know how to dress and are like really cute. But so you were assessing it and you're like, I got to develop a personality.
Yeah, when do you feel like the first time you realized you were funny? Because I can tell you when. It was first grade and it was show and tell and I had nothing to show. And I went up there and just made up a crazy story about my brother. It was a total lie and I got laughs and I was like, I felt this thing. I can remember it. And then I tried to do it again and I bombed. So like I bombed early, but like I remember.
Did you try to do it again? Where did you try to do it again?
Like at the next show and tell. And I remember going up there and struggling. And I was like, I will never forget that feeling of bombing as a 6-year-old. But like, I just realized like people like me because they're laughing. My teachers like me. Like I realized it really young. And I mean, I have plenty of photos to show you. There's no debate.
Oh, I believe you.
I wasn't pretty. I just wasn't.
You had to go for the charm. Did it get back to your brother that you had made up a story about him?
No, because if I was 6, he was 2,
Right.
Oh no. Oh my God. Wait, I love that you asked that. Yes. A teacher at open house pulled my mom aside and was like, we want to check on what's going on in the home.
Yeah. We know he has 6 legs. Ashley told us about that.
Thank you for asking. Yes, they did. They were like, is this true? Like, is there abuse? Is there brother, sister abuse in the home?
What did you say? What do you remember what the story was?
I don't remember. I hate that I don't remember. It's like, because
you were a kid, you're a baby, you're 6.
That's right. When you start developing memories in the first place, but it was a lot of like him being bad and me being like a hero, but it was like funny, But and the teacher was watching it like, this bitch is lying. Right.
Either she's lying or something is really, really wrong.
In the home.
Did you get in trouble for that?
I mean, I think my mom like sat me down, but was like, hey, just don't do that. Like, we know you're trying to be funny. Because they knew I was always trying to be funny at home too.
Right.
Like I wish at that age I would have been like, Mom, it's stand up. Like you don't get it.
Yeah. I'm rehearsing. God. That's such a young age to realize that you do get in that feel. That is really young. I had like a story time in 6th grade. I remember the teacher would give me some time at the end of class to tell a story because I was so loud in class. So he would be like, if you can save it till the end of class, you can tell a story. And I remember it going well. And then sometimes I was like, oh, I got to like put a lot of work in to come up with a new story each time.
Oh, that's a lot of pressure.
It was a lot of pressure. Did your parents feel cool with you putting so much pressure on yourself, or were they like, hey, you can chill a little bit
with grades and stuff?
With grades.
I mean, I hate to, I'm going to sound like a dick, but like school is just really easy. I think I have a little bit of a photographic memory. I don't feel like I retained a ton of knowledge.
Oh, amen. I get that. I relate to that. I don't know nothing.
I don't know what I learned in college. I graduated with a 3.9.
Wow.
Like I don't remember any of that, but I just was really good at school. It's just, I wasn't good at sports. I wasn't, pretty and like prom queen, but I was like so good at school.
Did you have friends in lots of different groups, or were you in one main group in high school?
One main group, like when I was a sophomore, I started hanging out with like the popular seniors. And I felt like so cool, and I partied with them because that's when I started partying. And like I'm still friends with a lot of them to this day. And I'm just like, that moment, I don't know if for me, it was like these girls that I idolized and looked up to. Yes. And then when I finally became friends with them, I was like, I've made it.
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah. Even in comedy sometimes, like when I moved to New York, there was a lot of girls that I like, I'll use like Casey Balsham, for example, like I remember thinking, like, funny. I thought she was so pretty, so funny, so cool. Yep. She had all this cool stuff going on. And then now we're just like buds.
Right. Yeah. It's like a surreal. There's something about when someone's older than you in high school too. And it's just like, wow, like it's like a mystical, like they party and have sex and getting a fake ID. That's the in. If you can get booze in high school, you could shut it down. How did you get that ID?
My cousin it's so funny. She is not a huge partier. She went to a different school, like rival high school-ish, like, 20 minutes away, different high school. She was like, I know this guy. His name was Paul. He lived in my neighborhood, and his mom was like a substitute teacher or whatever. I knew who he was. And she met him somehow and was like, he's going to make us IDs. We're going to go to his house after school. And he had
hooked up.
Yeah, but it was so weird because I was like, Lindsay, like I'm the one that's like so desperate for this, but I mean, what are you going to do with it? And so the IDs came out. He made hers first. It was really bad because it was New Jersey. So back in those days, New Jersey was still laminated. It was like the only kind of fake you could get away with at that time. They were all starting to transition to like the cards. And so hers came out. It looked so bad. Her face was like digitally scrambled. It wasn't like usable. And it was almost like hers was the practice run. And then mine spit out of the printer, and it was like pretty okay. Like any like bouncer wouldn't have let me in a club, but like a liquor store owner that wants to make a sale is like,
sure. Totally.
So, I used it that weekend, and you'll like this story. I feel like, I went to school and started kind of like telling people, word travels fast. I felt like I was like McLovin. I'm not kidding. And so people were like
creating a buzz.
She's a sophomore. She's 15. She has a fake. I didn't even have a license to drive, and I had a fake ID.
That's crazy.
The word got around, and people were like, let's party this weekend. And, these guys that kind of knew the deal was like, we're going to go to this really shitty liquor store in like the shitty town next to my shitty town. And so we went in there. It was like the tiniest store. Like they were like, get this and this. And I just like totally like blacked out. And I was so scared. Like it's like, I felt like in Superbad when you were like shaking from fear. And I grabbed like beer, maybe a bottle of liquor, and then some Boone's Farm like wine.
Oh, I forgot about Boone's Farm.
So I'm like crushing it. I leave, we all go out and party. I'm from a small town. We were probably in like a 7-Eleven parking lot, just getting drunk or whatever. And this guy drove me home at the end of the night, and we had like bottles in his car. And I don't know why he wasn't like, I'm just going to toss these, but he was like, oh shit, we have all these bottles in my car. And I think I like wanted to still show off and was like, oh my God, we recycle. I'll just throw them away. And so I like got these bottles and threw them in my family's recycling on the way inside the house.
Oh boy.
And the next day I came downstairs, and my parents were in the kitchen, and they looked like something was up. And my dad was like, sit down, we need to talk to you. And I was like, how could they know? I've had this ID for like 48 hours. How can they know?
Right.
And he said to me, and this will give you insight into how I turned out like I did. And he said to me, Ashley, we know you got a fake ID. We're not going to take it away from you because we know you'll just find a way to get another one. But if I ever see Boone's Farm in the recycling again, you're grounded.
You can break the law, but if you have bad taste, that is it. how did they know you had the fake ID? Just that you had the booze?
I honestly think it had somehow gotten back to Lindsay's mom is my mom's best friend.
Right.
And kind of my aunt. So I think that was it, or just what parents just fucking know.
Right.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask. I think it's happened through Lindsay, and then her mom took hers away immediately.
Right. But your parents let you still have that? Oh, that's a wrap.
And then I would go to this other liquor store, not that one. I upgraded to like a nicer one with more selection. And like that guy, I went and saw him for years to come. So when I would come home from college, he would think I was like 30, you know, like he remembered me because I was always so sweet because I was breaking the law.
Right.
And so I would come in, he'd be like, hey, what are you up to now? And I'd be trying to remember the stories. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm back in Jersey. Just, you know, I'm engaged or like whatever. I'm like, am I 27 now? I don't know.
Did you ever give that guy your real ID? Because that would probably make his brain fucking explode if at one day you're like, here, and he's like, oh, wait a minute. Uh-oh.
No, because when I don't know if you know it, if you can understand this, but there was like a hierarchy. I feel like in life and even in bars and college towns, there's a hierarchy of like the hardest ones to get into. So I think when I turned 21, I just went to like the nicest, best liquor store. Yes.
Like
it was called Larry's Liquors. They had the wine cellar. Like I was like, what's up? I'm 21.
Right. I've been doing this for years. And they're like, wait,
just down the street.
Did you have boyfriends in high school? When was your first boyfriend?
I dated guys. Like I was a little bit of a late bloomer. Like I had my first like French kiss, tongue kiss, like at 15, like, which is kind of late.
Which is crazy because that's still pretty young.
Yeah.
Like, that's young to be.
But I also like had girlfriends having sex at 14, 15, you know, so I felt like a late bloomer. I was definitely the last person to get that done in my friend group. So, cause I wasn't pretty. So it's like I had this guy that took me to prom. He brought me on my first real date. Like we went to see Varsity Blues. He was a senior. I was a sophomore. Like I had those things. I had some guys, but then, and you know, I made out with guys. I hooked up, but I wouldn't say somebody that was like a serious boyfriend until right at the end of my senior year. Someone hooked me up with him. We went to senior prom and then we dated that whole summer before I went to college. I was the first person I said I love you to. He took my virginity, all those things. So that was like my first real relationship. And it's funny because we talk about sex a lot on Girls Gotta Eat. And that guy really kind of molded me for life in terms of that he treated me really well. The sex was pretty good. He knew what he was doing. Like
that's great.
He went down on me, which is something a lot of girls have insecurity about. Like I kind of had someone treat me really well early on. And because I think girls have pretty bad, not all of them, but they can have pretty rough sexual experiences that kind of like carry into their later adult lives.
And there's a lot of factors that go into that because it's like the guy's best case scenario, the guy's young, he doesn't know what he's doing. So that's not great. Or worst case scenario, he's like a bad person and then you're forever.
Yeah.
That time of having a relationship is a tricky time because then you have the pressure of, are we going to stay together when we go to college? Did you guys even have that thought? No.
No, like he wasn't really on like the same track, I guess. Like I think even my parents were like, oh God, please just don't let him get her pregnant or something. You know? So I think we both kind of knew. And like we would talk and then like I remember coming home one weekend, like a 3-day weekend, probably like MLK weekend, like, and I was like gonna be like sexy and I like got this hotel room and I got like lingerie and my parents were like, what are you doing home for the weekend? And I was like, don't worry about it. Like it was so weird. And we like fucked in this hotel room all weekend. And, like we were drinking Alize. Like, I don't know.
Oh, Alize. That's like that's like really fancy when you're younger. I actually forgot about Alize until you just said it. I forgot about that. The blue.
Like, I had this like skanky Fredericks of Hollywood like get up on with like, I mean, what? I don't know.
Did you study entrepreneurship in college?
I feel like people ask me what I studied in college and I feel like it doesn't matter. I
agree with that.
Like, a pretty general, like marketing, like just let's get out of here with good grades and get drunk a lot. So, I knew I wanted to be in business, but nothing like excited me too much. I mean, even like I was always a writer. I was like the editor of my high school newspaper, but then there was like one journalism class at Clemson. I took it and I hated it. Like there wasn't a lot of creative writing classes. Like I was just like, just let me take whatever and get out of here with a high GPA. So, I mean,
Did you even think, were you like, maybe I'll work at a PR agency?
Yeah. Yes. And then again, I took one PR class and it was like a joke. It was like all football players in there. It wasn't even like, it was basically like come to class and you get an A. It was
I studied PR. Yeah.
Such a joke, at least. And not every school, like there was no PR major at Clemson. It was just this one class that like everybody knew to take if you needed like a grade booster. But I mean, I just didn't care. Like I got out of college, I went and got an internship with this magazine and in the marketing and events department. And then the editor took a liking to me and she hired me to be a nightlife editor at like 22. Which
that's a cool job.
It was so cool. It got me in the
cool.
scene, and it was like no pay, but I was like running around going to events and meeting people. So
was it in Atlanta?
And the magazine's called Jezebel Magazine, and they later got bought by Modern Luxury. So I mean, they're legit.
Very legit. I remember Jezebel. Wasn't it like people were like, was Jezebel? I feel like there was like a lot of like hate on Jezebel about, is it a feminist magazine?
Well, that's a website. It's different. So yeah, it's like, of course, like that's Jezebel Magazine is like the website that's really popular. This is like just a nice luxury living glossy magazine of Atlanta.
And when you were in Atlanta, that's when you started doing comedy?
Yeah.
How did you deal because comedy, no matter what, is just like, there's a lot of rejection right away. So going from having things be like, okay, grades, I can do this with comedy and the rejection. How did you deal with that? I
mean, Atlanta is, I would say, a pretty easy entry point for comedy. Like it's not comparable to New York, LA, even Chicago.
New York, LA is nuts.
Yeah. It's not
like nuts.
I don't even know I don't know that I would have continued.
I don't think I would have. I always used to think about that. If I hadn't started in Boston, I don't really see myself doing that.
It's different.
It's totally different. And it's like, you don't even see the potential joy in it in New York for such a long time. And I don't know if you did this. I used to go back to Boston a lot. Boston's closer to New York than Atlanta is, but when I started in New York, I would scoop right back to Boston for a lot of weekends because just that transition to New York is just so fucking hard. I
went a few times and I remember one weekend I headlined a show. I did a few other shows. I would have gone more if it was closer, like Boston. So yeah, I mean, that was always in my head. I mean, my story was just that I knew I needed to do stand-up if I wanted to work in entertainment and comedy. And I looked up to these people like Chelsea Handler and Amy Schumer. And I just was like, I got to knock this out and at least see if I'm good at it. And I saw a girl do a open mic night at the Laughing Skull in Atlanta. And I was like, I can do that. She was funny, but I was like, I know I can do this or do it better. And I think a lot of people have that moment in comedy where they see a show and they're like, wait, this is it? I can do this, whether they can or not. So this was, not that long ago. Like this was 2013. So I'd been in Atlanta for some time. I had a lot of friends. I was working in all these different fun areas. I was writing. I was like doing these event planning things. And
were you even thinking about staying in Atlanta? Was that thought ever for you? Like I might settle down here?
I think I was like, I know I'll probably end up in New York. I mean, even like the next year was when I really started to think about it. But then I dated somebody and I stayed longer than I probably should have. But I was like, yeah, I'm going to start doing comedy here. And it's just, it's like, I feel like people that started in New York, like hate to even hear this, but it was great. It was at Laughing Skull Lounge, which is Atlanta's top comedy club. I did 5 minutes. All my friends were there. Like people loved me. And 5 minutes, your first time, like that's unheard of in a city like New York or LA.
Totally.
So, and then I feel like people knew whether I was good or not, that I could draw. People would come see me. I had this blog. People just were interested in me. And I was a girl, which there's just less of us. There was in Atlanta. And so you need a girl on the lineup. Like I was getting shows that I probably wasn't experienced enough to be on pretty early.
That's always such a tricky say because I always felt that way when I first started getting colleges. I was like, and I was upfront about it too. I was like, I'm getting these schools before I'm ready because I'm gay and the entry point for me is lower because if I were a straight white guy, the level of funny I would need to be to get these same opportunities is so fucking huge. But also it's a little bit tricky to say too, because it's always like, have you gotten to meet Chelsea Handler?
No. And I'm just like, I feel like we could have her on the podcast at some point.
I bet you probably could have her on the podcast. I think doesn't she have a podcast?
Yeah. I feel like she is somebody I really still want to meet to this day. I had a friend of mine in Atlanta who's my hairstylist that used to be really good friends with her and do her hair. And so I like have connections to her, but then I'm like, is that my like top? So after that, I'm like, I'm done.
Yeah. Like it brings, that would be such a cool.
Well, then it's the Obamas. It just keeps going up.
Right. Yeah. It'd be interesting to see who pops in your head after that. I met her. I did meet her one time. Okay. This is kind of it's not really an embarrassing story, but I was starstruck. Mm-hmm. So I was at the Cellar and I was hosting the 7:00 show. This wasn't long ago either. It's probably like maybe year and a half. I was hosting the 7:00 show and I did not feel good about it. Like afterwards I was like, but no one felt good about it. But I was like, it's my fault. I'm hosting a show. I just didn't feel good about it. So Dave Attell, he came up and he was like, he asked, it was really interesting because he's like such a comic legend. And he would ask sometimes how other people on the show did. If I hosted, he would be like, how did it do? Which I thought was really interesting because I was surprised that he would do that.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, that's interesting. You care. Like
that you care.
Like he'd be like, hey, how was blah, blah, blah. So he asked me that and he was kind of like, I was like, you did better, whatever. So then he was like, really? And then we just sat down where we were, which was towards the entryway. And then a guy and a woman and another woman come over and they're standing there and she gives him a hug and a kiss. And the guy introduces himself. The other woman introduces himself. And then the third woman looks at me and she introduces herself. This is Chelsea Handler, but I didn't realize it at the time. She goes, hi, I'm Chelsea. I think we've met before. And I was like, oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So she says to Dave, she's like, can I sit with you? And then they start talking. I'm still not realizing who it is. And then I'm looking at her friend. And then Dave really abruptly goes, I got to go. Like I'm something, I got to go. So now I'm just there with them. And I realize who it is. So I'm like, so I said, don't know if I've even told this story since this happened. I was like, you know what? I just didn't care because I had a bad show. So I was really in that, like, I don't know why, fuck it all. Cause I don't know why I did this. I was like, you know what? We haven't met. I thought I didn't recognize you at first, which I don't know how, but I just recognized you now. And I realized we haven't met before. And she went, no, I think we have. And I was like, no, I really don't think so. I would remember. And she was like, I think we have met. I remember. And I was like, and I just didn't let it go. I was like, I don't think so.
Argued with Chelsea Handler.
I was like, I think I would remember if I met you. I meant it as a compliment. She was like, well, I'm pretty sure we did meet. Are you a comedian? And I was like, yeah. And then there was a pause. And then I said, I'm thinking about quitting. And she went, girl, me too. She goes, I think about that all the time. And then I was like, are you going to get up tonight? I was keeping it cool. Like after that, I was like, are you going to go up tonight? And she was like, no, I haven't done stand-up in a year, like blah, blah, blah. So I'm really trying to keep it cool. So I was like, don't focus on her, focus on her friends because everyone's going to focus on her. So I start talking to her friend a whole bunch. The server comes over and Chelsea said, we have some shots of Patron. And she's like, put it on my tab or something. And the woman goes, do you have a tab? Not recognizing her. So she's like, do you have a tab? I haven't taken your card yet. Like she's confused. I'm like, oh God. And then the manager comes over, recognizes her. They're like, oh, sorry. Again, a pause. And then her friend and I are talking and Chelsea goes, what are you guys talking about? I like turned away from her because I was trying not to seem like I was trying to talk to her too much. What are you guys talking about? And her friend was like, we're talking about real estate in New York. And she's like, I want to buy an apartment. And then I said, oh, you can get a good deal on the Upper East Side. And she was like, oh, cool. Good to know. And then she said, are you going to go down and watch the show? We're going to go down if you want to come. And I was like, no, I got to go. I got an audition. I left and I called my friend and I was like, I just met Chelsea Handler. I told her you could get a good deal on the Upper East Side. And she was like, do you know how much money she's worth? I was like, yeah. And then she asked if I wanted to go down and watch the show. Right. And I left and she was like, go back there. So I had walked home and then I ran back and she was,
oh my God, Emma.
She was gone.
And that's the story.
Isn't that so weird? And I was like, is Chelsea still here? And she was like, no, also she was wasted. And I was like, oh, I did not think she was wasted but I didn't really talk to her because I was like side looking at her friend.
You were like, you can get a good deal. She's like a multi-bazillionaire.
And she's like, that's good to know. And I was like, yeah. So have you been starstruck by anyone and made an ass of yourself?
You know what? I went to this rap party in
rap, like shows
Atlanta.
over, or rap like hip hop?
Rap for Dumb and Dumber 2.
Oh, wow.
Party.
Oh, that's pretty sweet.
Yeah. So my friend at the she was a friend then, but she brought me, she was like an extra. Oh, she had a speaking part, I guess. She brought me, Jim Carrey was there, Jeff Daniels, Rob Riggle. I talked to him for a while and I was so cool, but it was right when I'd started watching The Walking Dead and I was obsessed with The Walking Dead.
Right.
I kind of stopped watching it. It got a little too violent for me, but I lived in Atlanta. They filmed, I was so obsessed with it. And this girl walked by. She was only on like 1 or 2 seasons. She played a character named Andrea. I don't know if you've watched it, but she walked by me. We were literally we were smoking a blunt with Jim Carrey. I'm not kidding you. Like, what a moment. And she walked by and maybe it was a little high. I didn't expect to see somebody from The Walking Dead. Like I was expecting to be around all these big celebrities and I can keep my cool. And I am not kidding. I go, oh my God, Andrea from The Walking Dead, like in this crowd of celebrities. And my friend at the time was like, we should go. Like it was such an unspoken rule that I had fangirled at this.
Right. Yeah. You're not supposed to do that.
But I'm hanging out with like Jim Carrey and Rob Riggle and I was cool, but then I didn't expect to see this like D-lister from.
Right. You're like, what are you doing here? What are you doing here?
And I was like, I'm such a fan. And I'm like, what am I saying? I'm high.
Did you get a picture with her?
No. Oh my God. No. Well, and that's, I went to an SNL taping, right before Thanksgiving, and went to the after party and it was like, like Will Ferrell. And I know to be cool. I don't really think there's a scenario in which I wouldn't be cool, but I was like texting with my brother who he and I have just been obsessed with Will Ferrell movies our whole life. And he's like, you got to take a picture. I'm like, that's not a thing that
you can't do that.
I would never.
Which is tough. And that's hard for someone to understand. Why can't you? Like, you just can't.
Yeah, no.
Have you ever kept it too cool? Because I think that's what I was doing I was trying too hard to keep it too cool with her. And I was kind of rude, to be honest. I mean, she said, are you going to go downstairs and watch a show? And I was like, no, I got to go. Thank you. Have a good night. And then I booked it out of there and it was like 8:30 or 9 o'clock. It wasn't late. And then I was like, what the fuck?
What am I doing?
Yeah.
Yeah. I heard I've heard she's like a great person, but I have heard she's drunk a lot. Like I've heard that people like in the restaurant industry say, so she probably didn't.
Oh, that's good. That is good intel, actually. The restaurant industry is just good.
Yeah, I think Raina's got some stories. I'm not going to slam her or drag her because I do think she's like a genuine good person. But I think, I think she showed up drunk a lot to some establishments. That's
pretty impressive considering all she's accomplished because, I mean, like to be able, whenever I see Dave Chappelle drinking a bunch, I'm like, how do you drink that much and then do all the things that you do? Yeah. Like, I always find that like extremely and very, very impressive.
Do you drink at all?
No, but I used to drink a lot. I do love drinking.
Yeah. I just don't, it doesn't really serve me. Like even there's been 2 nights during this whole like quarantine that I just like drank a little too much. And the next day I'm like, this is stupid. I don't feel good. Yeah.
It makes you, especially after 26, you start feeling like just worse and worse and worse and worse in your body. And then you can't do the stuff that you need to do.
Yeah. And you're not sharp. Like, like when I haven't drank for a while and I'm just being healthy and I'm working out, like my mind is like, I have so much more energy. Like Raina's like, are you on meth? Like, what are you doing? I'm just like, I get so much done.
Are you on drugs? No, I'm sober actually. And like,
the opposite.
Wow. I read this. I was reading this when you were talking about when you went to therapy after your relationship, the relationship that was one of the inspiring things for Girls Gotta Eat. And you said, I went through a relationship that was at one point super in love, then really volatile. Very relatable. I was in therapy for about 6 months trying to figure out why the relationship wasn't working. How did you get out of therapy? Because I see a therapist now and I wouldn't know how to end it.
So yeah, I mean, I went into it with the therapist, like, I'm here for my relationships purpose.
A specific problem. Got it. Smart. Smart.
And not as in like, I don't need the help. We can all benefit from therapy, but I didn't really feel like I had a lot to work through, I needed to be more compassionate and understanding of this guy's issues and how to manage him in the relationship and work it out with him. And we did couples therapy one time with her. And so then I wanted him to go to therapy and he knew he needed to, but I was like, I'm going to set the example. So I'm going to go. And my therapist, this wonderful woman, I just told her a lot about him. And she was like, I know the perfect therapist for him. And she set him up with his therapist, who I think he still goes to today. And
That's fantastic.
That was in 2016. And as far as I know, he never left that guy, whether he went through bouts of like going a lot and not. I think they still relationship. I mean, I haven't talked to him in a while, but they were like lifelong. And
that's fantastic that he went too, because that's good.
And it was so beneficial for him. And we were all kind of in it together. Like nobody's sharing confidential information, but it was like, we all knew what everybody was trying to accomplish here. Right. And so I went and saw her every other week for 6 months. And we just got to a point where like he did something terrible. I was like, the relationship's over. And like, I went in and it was a sad moment. Like it was so heartbreaking because I just like looked at her. I was like, I think we're done here. And she was like, I think we did all we can do. And it was like so sad.
Especially if it's one big thing that he did and you're like, I was trying so hard.
And by then I knew I was moving, you know, like our relationship was over. It had been over for a long time. So yeah, that's what.
Did it make, well, with my therapist, I didn't set an exit point when I started. I'm going to do that from now on. I started seeing her when I was in a relationship and we went to couples therapy, which was phenomenal. It was great. I don't know what I was expecting. I thought it was like that couples therapist, she was fantastic. As a little side note though, she did have a distracting facelift.
Oh, yeah.
Her facelift was extreme and it was very distracting. Like it was like I feel a little bad saying this, but it was the worst face job or cosmetic surgery I've ever seen.
That's distracting.
And I was
look down when you talk. Like I can't look.
I can't. And are you okay? I'm like, it's not about what you think it's about. It's your face it's a lot right now on top of
your face. I'm so sorry.
She was great. And then my girlfriend at the time was a therapist and she was like, you should see a therapist. And I started seeing one. It's been about 1.5 years now. And now I'm like, I feel like I'm like going into the refrigerator, like picking over food that I've like already picked over a million times. And I know if I say I want to, or I don't know, I haven't said it, but I'm like, I feel like if I say I want to stop, then she's going to be like, well, think that then that's like trouble. But I don't really have anything that I can think of to even process right now. And I don't really want to either. Well,
couldn't you just say like,
hey, I ran out of money?
Or just like, hey, I think I'm going to pull back a little bit on the therapy. You know, I feel like I'm in a good place and I've learned a lot of tools that I can use on my own. And I think I'm just going to take a little bit of like hit her with the, let's take a break. And
I think she'd be like, I'm your therapist. And I know that's not true.
No.
Are
what you a bad liar?
I can be a good liar. I was a good liar. I can be a good liar, but that would be a tough sell because she'd be like, really? Like, when have you exhibited those recently? And I'd be like,
no. She's not gonna like force you to stay.
That's true. They can't. Supposedly, they can't do that.
They can't call you, and they're not your personal trainer. Like they're not gonna be like, you missed the gym today. You know.
What's gonna be your goal now that Girls Gone Deep and everything is so big? What's gonna be goal for building that? I had an idea for you guys.
Oh, tell me.
Okay, I had this idea before Corona hit. Now it's a bad idea.
Okay, it's fine.
My idea was, I thought this was really good, and I thought you guys could have a rosé like wine tour, and like your own wine. Like, you know how there's like wines they send out a box of wine, like a wine of the month club could be good, and your own wines, and then a cruise. Those ideas don't sound that great, all things considered, but when I thought of it, thought it was a good one.
Well, the cruise thing, I don't love cruises, but I love the sentiment of it. And like, I know a company in Atlanta that does all those music cruises, or they do the comedy ones too. They do the Impractical Jokers cruise. Right. Like, so I'm very familiar with that. I think we obviously love the alcohol thing. I'm not a fan of the fat Jewish as a person, but what he did is the holy grail of alcohol.
Sure.
That white girl rosé, and he sold it for millions of dollars, and now he just like has millions of dollars. So
I forgot about him. Does he still do Instagram? Like, what's he up? What's he?
I mean, I'm sure, I don't think he posts on it, but the account is still totally active. And I don't know. I mean, he just, I don't think he's a good person. I'm happy to go on record saying that. You know, I'm friends with his ex-wife. Like, not even that she said anything. I just, what I know about him on my own, I don't really think he is. I mean, he built his business on stealing memes from people. So, but I admire him as a businessman in terms of like, let's capitalize it. He made the Babe Rosé, like, and I've read articles where he was like, you got to figure out what's next and you got to pivot and use your following while you're hot. And I admire him for that. So we've thought about alcohol, and we've thought about not so much a cruise, but in more of a retreat, you know?
Yeah, that's a good idea. That's a good idea.
Like the goal would be that it would be at the Marriott in Aruba where we met. I mean, how great would that be?
I love the Marriott.
I love a Marriott.
I love a Marriott. Marriott, Sheraton. I love a Hilton.
What you're gonna get.
You know what? I appreciate the consistency. I like how they've done it, and I like chain restaurants, and I only feel comfortable admitting that now that I'm 34.
Yeah, I love them. I mean, my whole life was like, all I ever wanted to do was go to TGI Fridays. Like, I dated a bouncer there. It was a whole thing.
They had bouncers at your TGI Fridays? People were getting crazy in your hometown. We don't even have bouncers. That's crazy. Like, if someone was just eating too many wings.
Whole story, but like on Monday nights at the TGI Fridays in Dover, Delaware, got fucking lit, and someone did check IDs, and I dated him. So and it was crazy.
That sounds like the best time ever, that people are getting figured out. That's like if they had the Cheesecake Factory or the Olive Garden. They're like, you gotta get through the bouncer and be like, about the bread. I'm like, these breadsticks are good. Do you know how good these are? People are going crazy. All right.
And now looking back, like, how did our Fridays, like, how they shut down the bar after hours and make it into a karaoke bar? Like, that couldn't have been legal. Couldn't have been legal. Franchise? I don't know.
Couldn't have been legal, but sounds like a good time. I've got some Delaware trivia for you. Now there's the other ones were confusing for my brain, but this is one I came up with. Are you good at are you good at trivia?
I don't know. I don't know the answer to that.
All right. Famous people from Delaware. Okay. I actually only had one Delaware thing because truly I got confused. I spelled it as Detroit originally, which was a big mistake. Okay. Famous people from Delaware. One of these is not from Delaware. Okay. Sean Patrick Thomas, Katherine Hagel, Ryan Phillippe.
Sean Patrick Thomas.
No.
Katherine Hagel?
No, she's not. Katherine Hagel's not from Delaware.
She's the one?
She's the one. Sean Patrick Thomas was from, did you know who he was when I said that?
From like Save Last Dance?
Yes. And I was wondering, because I've been doing like deep dives into like what went wrong where, because he was hot when he did Save the Last Dance. Like he was on fire. And then
what happened? Did you find out anything?
I can't find out. I was like, it's tough. Sometimes it'll be like he had bit roles and things, but there has to be a backstory, because how did he go from that movie, which was huge, to then getting bit roles?
I have no idea. I mean, I knew Ryan Phillippe. I mean, I know we drive by his parents' house. It's like very visible in Delaware. He's always at the bars.
I love him. I think he's phenomenal, and I think he's so cute, and I love him on Instagram. Like, I really like him.
Yeah, he'll wear like Starboard gear, which is the bar where my brother works. Like he was always there all summer.
That's so cool.
But damn it, I can't believe I missed that one.
It's easy to do. Where can people find you online and
it was just
look up all yours? It was just that one. Well, I tried finding other things about Delaware, but Delaware was really tough. Delaware has the fewest counties of any state.
I mean, Joe Biden, mixed reviews, but he's going to be the nominee. So
you think he's going to win?
I don't know what to say.
It's tough.
He does not have the likability that he probably should.
That's the key. It's really the key. Like, you know, when you are someone that's like looking around, assessing things, it's like one thing that you see charisma and likability are king. Even if I know something is not, like, I remember Mitt Romney's maybe not super likable. His jaw's too square. He's got it together too much. And he's not appealing to people. But I interned at the State House when he was the governor, and I would walk by and hear him talk sometimes. And he was a great speaker. So if someone's a really good speaker or they're really likable, it's over.
Well, and that's the thing. I think there was this moment for Joe Biden, and like now people think he has dementia.
Right.
There's the sexual assault allegation.
Right.
A bunch of stuff surfaced about him and Black people, you know, like people.
Oh, I didn't even see that.
Well, that was at the beginning of the debates. Kamala really went after him, and you know, stuff from a long time ago. I'm not defending it, but like when his term ended, Joe was hot. Like if he gone in right then, I think he would have been our president. But
totally,
too much shit surfaced in the meantime. People thought now they think he's losing it. And I'm not even saying that I agree with them. And I'm just saying that like I used to be a big supporter myself, and he wasn't my pick because I've watched his likability decline. So
totally,
I think who he picks for VP, I mean, and I think a woman of color is probably his best bet, which I would love to see somebody like Stacey Abrams or even Kamala, but that's going to
that'll be the huge thing, because they'll have to be the friendly, or the face that like, you're like, oh yeah, her.
Right. And I know that presidents can get stuff done, but a lot of times they are just a figurehead. And at the end of the day, Joe Biden with dementia is still better than Trump. Like it's still better.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be, and he's getting like ripped right now. Like if I watch comedians are like ripping him. So I'm like, I mean, people are ripping on Trump too, but
I just think do what you want. Comedians make jokes, but if you feel strongly that we need him to win, like don't do it too much, because you're showing your followers that you're not supporting Joe Biden. You don't have to, but maybe don't make fun of him so much, because you're going to push some of those people on the line over to the Trump side. So
yeah, that's where I got the seed of being like, oh, maybe he's like losing it, was I saw comedians like playing clips of him and then making fun of him for like stumbling over words. And then I was like, oh shit. Have you had people like right-wing people go after you at all?
I mean, I think everybody does. Like, I feel like I've weeded out a lot of them, you know, like I feel like we used to get a lot of girls DMing us about Girls Gotta Eat. And like, I can't listen anymore. You guys talked about politics, and we're like, then don't listen. Like, we're not going to not address this stuff. So
or also like, you don't need to tell me.
Here's the door.
Like,
yeah.
Right.
So, people, you know, it's weird because it's like I posted a thing about race today, and there's a few like crazy people in there, but they're not people that follow me. They're people that like found it some other way, you know, like it's people that follow me. Like, I don't think I have a lot of big right-wing people. They just would have stopped following.
Right. Totally.
Anyway, sorry, we got off a tangent.
No, not at all. It's
an election year.
It's an election year. I used to be really into politics, and then when I started doing entertainment, I stopped. Like I used to like work on campaigns, and then I just kind of, I don't know, I stopped getting into it. But I always think politicians are interesting. Like, do you remember Chris Christie?
Chris Christie is my favorite person to body shame. I'm sorry. I'm not a big body shamer, but his Peter Griffin body is.
Oh yeah. He was so much more likable when he was big though. When he was chubby, he was because he did the Republican National Convention, and I remember being like, he's a star. And
oh really?
Oh yeah. I was like, he's a star. Whatever he was talking about, he was all worked up, and he was like, they panned from him to his daughter, and like I say this with full respect, she was kind of chubby too, so there was like they were like smiling at each other, and I was like, he's gonna win whatever he applies for. Then he lost all the weight, and now I think he's not like, I mean, then he fucked up a bunch of other stuff too.
Yeah, like I think it like Trump brought out some of his like true colors.
Absolutely.
And, like I didn't hate on Chris Christie before Trump, and then I was like, this fucking brown noser. And now why is he sitting on the beach? And I cannot. I mean, I would never in my life body shame a woman, but I will body shame Chris Christie all day, because he looks like a cartoon character.
He does look like he kind of looks like what's the Big Ed? Are you watching 90 Day Fiance?
Oh no, I watch it off and on. But
okay, there's a guy named Big Ed that's a little bit like him.
Why is that guy so popular? I've seen a million memes.
Because he's just ridiculous. Like I only watch the show because my girlfriend really likes to watch it, and I'm always like, I don't want to watch this. And then I'm like, well, turn it back on. He's really ridiculous. He says totally offensive stuff, and he has no chin or neck.
Which I can relate. I've had a chin implant. You know,
Have you really?
Yeah, I used to just have a real bad chin.
Really? Is that a big surgery?
It's a surgery. I mean, it's, go home that day, but you're like wrapped up, Probably, It's
Wow.
like probably the same recovery as a nose job.
Which is a pretty big, I've been in a relationship with someone who had a nose job, and that's like it took a long time to recover from that.
Yeah, and you don't look like you're supposed to for a couple months. It's just real swollen.
I've had tons of Botox and filler. I'm very like pro anything that makes you feel better about.
Yeah, this was when I was like 20. I was like, Mom, I had this weak jawline. She was like, you do. We don't know where you got it. Like, she was very like, we agree. We think you're beautiful because you're our daughter, but like, we don't know.
Yeah, it's not from my side of the family or your dad's side of the family. So
like, everybody had my brother's perfect jawline. I'm like, what? I have nothing.
Like, you got to get a chin, Ashley. And you're like, all right, I'll do it. Where can people find you online? And make sure to check out Girls Gotta Eat podcast. This was something that cracked me up about a quote that you guys had where it said, I think I can remember. It was, Girls Gotta Eat provides answers to everything from anal to finances.
We like really pride ourselves on diversity. Like, it's not this like single girl, like we like to cover all Monday we have a sexual assault episode coming up. Like,
wow.
We can talk about crazy sex, anal kinks, and then finances and, death. Like, we just kind of try to run the gamut of everything you ever experience in a relationship. So
it's all connected too, and it's all connected too, because anal and finances really are how to live your life. I mean, not just those two things, but like those are part of experiencing life.
They're the spectrum, the ends of the spectrum. Yeah, Girls Gotta Eat podcast, wherever you guys find podcasts, and then Ash Hess on Instagram, ASHHESS. That's it. Yeah.
Make sure to check her out. Of course. Thank you for doing it. I appreciate it.